Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gift, and in this video I'll be making this wide leg palazzo jumpsuit. The first video is the inspiration, while the second video is what I made. I made use of 3 yards of crepe fabric to achieve this look. I'll be marking both the front and the back pattern on this paper. So I already have my horizontal line on the paper. The first line is my shoulder line, so I just labeled it. The second line is my bust line. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches, so I came down by 10 inches and I marked the bust line. From my shoulder to my waistline is 15 inches. I added 1 inch seam allowance to it, making it 16 inches. So the last line is my half length, which is 16 inches. This other space is my zipper allowance of 2 inches. I'm just going to label it. So I'll be drafting both the front and the back pattern on this paper. From my zipper allowance, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches. I marked it there. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch from that 8 inches as my shoulder slope. From my zipper allowance line, I'll be taking my neckline measurements. I'll be coming down by 1 inch as the depth for the back. Then I'll be taking 3 inches as the width. I'm going to come down by 3 inches as the depth for the front. Then I'll be maintaining the same 3 inches I'll be using for the back. So I'm going to connect both the 1 inch and the 3 inch to the width like this. Then I'm going to connect my shoulder slope to my neckline area in a slanted way like this. From the shoulder slope, I'm going to be taking my round armhole measurement divided by 2. My round armhole measurement is 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I marked the 8 inches there, and I'm going to connect the shoulder slope to it on a straight line like this. Now I'm going to mark the midpoint of my armhole line. So I'm going to fold my tape into 2 equal parts like this and get the midpoint. The midpoint is 4 inches. That's the line divided into 2. Then I'm going to go in by half an inch from that midpoint. I'm going to mark my bust measurements divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance on this line. I'm going to connect the midpoint to the bust measurement like this. Then I'm going to connect it to the top of the armhole line. So this is the armhole line for both the front and the back. I'm going to be marking my measurements. I've already marked my bust measurements there. Now on this half length, I'm going to mark my waist measurements divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Note that I'm marking the measurements after the zipper allowance. So I'm going to connect my bust measurements to my waist measurements like this. Then I'm going to extend the line to my zipper allowance like this. So on my zipper allowance, I'm going to go out by half an inch. Then I'm going to connect it to the top like this. This is to eliminate any form of zipper bulge from the back. So I went out by half an inch. Then I connected it to the top like this. I'm going to cut off the excess parts of the paper I don't need. So I drafted both the front and the back half length together. I'll be cutting the back first. So I'm going to cut out the zipper allowance, the armhole. I'm going to cut out the armhole for the back and the neckline for the back first. So I'm just going to place this paper on my fabric and cut out my fabric. So I'm done cutting my fabric. I added half an inch to the to the length, and I added half an inch to the shoulder area. So this is what I have two pieces for the back. We are supposed to have two pieces for the back, so I'm going to use the paper to cut the front. Now I'm going to place this aside. So I'm going to cut out the neckline first, then I'm going to cut out the armhole for the front. So I'm going to fold the zipper allowance in, so I'll be able to cut the front fabric. I'm done cutting the neckline and the armhole area, so I'm just going to flatten this area and place it on my fabric to cut my front piece. So this is my front piece. I added half an inch to the length and half an inch to the shoulder as well. So this is what both the front and the back half lengths look like. For the pant part of this jumpsuit, I'll be making use of this pattern I drafted in my last video. I'm going to leave the link of this video in the comment section, so go check it out to be able to cut this part. So I'm going to connect the dart line to the straight line at the center of this pattern like this. So I'm going to split this paper into two from the top of the paper. So I'm splitting the paper from the top because I want to cut out the dart. So if you have a pants pattern that there is no dart on it, you can split it down from the down part to where you want it to stop. So I'm going to use my sellotape to gum the top together like this. So I'm going to close up that area. So I'm going to use this pattern to cut the front part of my pants. I'll be making use of this back pattern for the back, so I'm going to extend the dart to the bottom of the paper on a straight line like this. I'll be using my marker over the line to make it more visible. I'm going to split the paper into two following the line. I'm going to cut out my dart first, then I'm going to split the paper to the bottom. I'm going to close up the dart area with my sellotape. Then I'm going to use this pattern to cut the back of my pants. I've gone ahead to cut my fabric with my paper, and this is what I have. I added half an inch to the top of the fabric, 1 inch on both sides of the fabric. Then this is how I spread the leg. I opened it up by 7 inches. So how wide you want the leg of your palazzo to be will be how wide you open it. You can open it by 8 or 9 inches. It depends on how wide you want it to be, but make sure you add your stitching allowance around the pants, especially the waists. I extended the length of my fabric because the pattern paper is not up to the length I want. So I've gone ahead to cut the back. I added my stitching allowance and zipper allowance to the back. Please make sure you add zipper allowance to the back before adding your allowance. Your zipper allowance should be different from your allowance. So I spread the leg by 7 inches, just like the front. Whatever you spread the leg of your front piece by will be the same thing you spread the back by. So make sure you add your zipper allowance and your stitching allowance to the waist, so it will complement the half length. So I'll be working on the front piece now. I'm going to be adding pockets to this pants. So this is my front piece. It's folded into two. I'm going to be going in by 2 inches at this side like this. Then I'm going to come down by 6 inches, and I'm going to connect both dots together in a slanted way like this. Then I'm going to cut that part out. This is the fabric I'll be using for the pockets. The width is 8 inches and the length is 9 inches. So I have two pieces of fabric. I'm going to open it up like this. So I'm going to place the two right sides of the fabric on each other. Then I'm going to arrange it properly and place the main piece, the fabric for the pants, on it like this. So make sure you place the two right sides or the two wrong sides of your fabric on each other, so you not go and cut the wrong things. So I'm going to properly arrange them on each other like this, and I'm going to cut this part out like this. I'm going to place the right side of the pocket on the right side of the pant, and I'm going to stitch it. I'm going to pin the other pockets to the other side of the pants also. After pinning it, I'm going to stitch it as well. So after stitching it, I'm going to iron that part flat. Then I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side like this. Then I'm going to close it up. So this is how I'm going to turn it, the wrong side of the fabric inside like this. I'm going to stitch it on a straight line. Then I'm going to stitch it to the side like this. I hope you guys understand. So I'm going to stitch where I just touched with my hand. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side of the pocket. After doing that, I'm going to join the crotch area together. So I'll be using this fabric that I pinned to the neckline as the facing for the neckline, and I'll be using this as the facing for the armhole. You can go ahead and use a clothing bias, or you can use a full lining to line it. It depends on what you want. For the back, I'll be using this fabric that I pinned to it as the facing for the neckline, and I'll be using this fabric for the armhole. So I've gone ahead to join my pockets to the pants. So this is what I did. After joining these parts together, I ironed it open, then I turned it to the back and I stitched and I closed it up like this to the end. So I'm going to turn it over like this to the inside. So I'm going to turn the pocket to the inside. I hope you guys understand. Then I'm going to arrange it like this and make sure it will not gape at the down part, and I'll make sure the up is well arranged as well. And I'm going to stitch the remaining parts to my pants. So you go ahead and iron it so that that part will be flat and your pocket will be relaxed. So I'm done joining the crotch area, and this is what I have for the front part of my pants. So I'm going to add my half length. I'm going to add the half length to it. So I'm going to place the I'm done turning the neckline and the armhole part of the neck of the half length. So I'm going to place the right side of the half length on the right side of the pants, and I'm going to stitch it on a straight line by half an inch. I did the same thing for the back. After turning the neckline and the armhole area, I stitched it to the back part of the pants. So I went ahead to join the two shoulders together with half an inch. After joining the two shoulders together, I added a zipper to the back. So if you don't have your zipper immediately, you make sure you close up your zipper allowance. After doing that, I closed up the both sides of the fabric. So make sure you close your zipper allowance or add a zipper to the back before closing up the sides, so that your measurements will be accurate. So after doing all this, I went ahead to join the the crotch area at the center of the trouser together. So I placed the two centers on each other like this. I properly placed them on each other and I sewed from one end to another. I started the stitching from the center to the end. So after sewing from the center to each end of the pants, I'm going to hem the base of the jumpsuit. Sorry I could not record everything. So this is the rope I used to tie the waist of the jumpsuit. The width is 5 inches, but I don't know the length. You can make it as long as you want to, and you can make it as wide as you want to. Sewing in half an inch is now 2.5 inches wide.